All right, settle in, because this is one of those stories that doesn't just unfold, it slowly tightens around you. The British royal family runs on one rule above all others. You already know it. Never complain, never explain. It's not just a slogan, it's a survival mechanism. That silence has carried the monarchy through abdications, affairs, wars, divorces, leaked tapes, and entire generations of scandal. The crown endures because it does not argue with noise. It waits. It lets time do the talking. Which is why what's allegedly happened behind palace walls right now has sent shockwaves through every serious royal watching circle. Because according to multiple sources, that silence cracked. Not publicly, not on camera, but internally. And the person who broke it wasn't Charles, it wasn't William, it wasn't even the courtiers everyone loves to blame. It was Princess Anne. Yes, that Princess Anne, the one who doesn't grandstand, the one who doesn't leak, the one who doesn't smile for headlines or play emotional chess with the press, the one who has built her entire reputation on discipline, loyalty, and not suffering fools lightly. And the message she reportedly delivered was devastating in its simplicity. The dossier exists, and we tried to tell him. If you're enjoying this kind of deep dive already, do me a quick favor. Tap the like button so more people actually see this, and make sure you're subscribed, because stories like this don't get simpler as they go. They get darker. What's emerging now isn't just another Meghan and Harry media cycle. Insiders say these revelations aren't new to the palace at all. They're old, carefully documented, filed away years ago, and ignored. According to those same sources, Princess Anne has now confirmed the existence of a classified security vetting report from 2016, a report compiled by British intelligence during the early stages of Meghan Markle's relationship with Prince Harry, a report that allegedly flagged the exact same elite Mediterranean social circles, Gulf-linked connections, and unexplained access that the public is only now beginning to question. For years, Harry insisted his family was paranoid, that they were driven by prejudice, classism, or outdated tradition, that they were trying to block his happiness. But tonight, sources describe a very different scene unfolding thousands of miles away in Montecito. They describe a man sitting very still, a man slowly realizing that when his aunt warned him, she wasn't being cruel, she was being accurate. Tonight, we're going past the headlines and into what insiders call the Anne Files. We're going to talk about why Princess Anne refused to bend to the fairy tale narrative, what was allegedly inside the intelligence report Harry was shown before the wedding, and why the palace solved the impossible math of Meghan Markle's past years before the public ever did. The warning was ignored. The consequences have arrived. And to understand why this hurts so much now, we have to go back to where it all began. Autumn 2016. Prince Harry starts dating Meghan Markle. On the surface, it's a modern royal romance, but behind the scenes, the machinery of the British state quietly switches on. This part isn't dramatic, it's routine. Any serious partner entering the inner circle of the royal family undergoes vetting. It's called Level 3 vetting. Normally, it's dull. Debts, legal issues, criminal records, the kind of thing that takes a few weeks and gets rubber stamped. But sources say Meghan's file didn't behave like a normal file. Almost immediately, red flags were triggered deep inside the intelligence community. Not tabloid gossip, not moral judgment. Data, travel logs, financial inconsistencies. Princess Anne was reportedly one of the first senior royals to read the full report, and what she saw wasn't scandal in the traditional sense. It was a timeline that didn't make sense. Between 2008 and 2012, Meghan publicly described herself as a struggling actress, and to be fair, that was the narrative everyone accepted. Small roles, brief appearances, calligraphy on the side. Anyone who's lived in Los Angeles knows that story. It's rent stress, side hustles, auditions that go nowhere. But the dossier allegedly told a different story. During those same years, intelligence logs placed her on yachts worth tens of millions of dollars, at exclusive gatherings in Monaco, Saint-Tropez, Tuscany, and Middle Eastern events that cost more per night than most working actors earn in a year. Princess Anne reportedly looked at this and asked the question Harry didn't want to hear. Who paid? Because here's the thing. In high-level security work, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is absolutely no such thing as a free Mediterranean season aboard billionaire superyachts. That kind of access is currency, and currency always has a source. Anne didn't see a love story. She saw impossible math. Struggling actresses don't drift through elite international power spaces by accident. Someone pays, someone opens doors, someone vouches, someone expects something in return. And this is where the conversation stopped being about class or prejudice and started being about sovereignty. If someone enters the royal family carrying invisible debts to offshore power brokers or foreign elites, that's not gossip, that's a security risk. This is the moment Anne and Harry diverged. Harry saw a woman he loved. Anne saw a file that didn't add up. And as we're about to see, the more Harry tried to bury that report, the more reality started echoing its contents. Let's slow this down, because this is where the story gets uncomfortable. The years flagged in the dossier weren't vague, they were specific, 2008 to 2012. During that time, Meghan's public resume showed minor TV work, brief game show appearances, pilots that didn't get picked up. In Hollywood terms, that's survival mode. But the intelligence data allegedly showed private villas in Tuscany, high-stakes environments in Monaco, and repeated presence on the Mediterranean yacht circuit. These aren't influencer vacations. These are controlled spaces where access is curated and nothing is accidental. Ask yourself the same question Princess Anne did, reportedly. Who paid? Because cable TV residuals don't fund summers in Porto Cervo. Freelance calligraphy doesn't bankroll the wardrobes required for elite power networking. These environments operate on transactions, not vibes. To British intelligence, unexplained access is the biggest red flag there is. It suggests obligation, leverage, a relationship that isn't visible on paper. The dossier allegedly concluded this wasn't luck. The pattern spanned years and continents, which means it wasn't hospitality, it was support, not opportunity, investment. Anne understood the implication immediately. When elites invest in someone socially, they expect a return. That return might be discretion, presence, influence, future access. To Harry, Meghan was self-made. To the palace, she was potentially walking in with invisible bets that could be called in at any moment. And if the yachts were the stage, intelligence began looking for the director. Enter Marcus Anderson. Publicly, he's framed as a friend, a Soho House consultant, a connector. But inside the dossier, sources claim his role was viewed very differently. Not a companion, a handler. Let's talk about 2015, the year before Meghan met Harry. While the public thought she was just a TV actress gaining traction, intelligence reports suggest she was attending what some insiders call the graduation ceremony of her social ascent, the opening of Soho House Istanbul. Istanbul isn't just a city, it's a crossroads. East meets west, old money meets new power. It's a perfect placement point. According to whispers tied to the dossier, Soho House Istanbul wasn't just a party, it was a marketplace. Guest lists curated with surgical precision, talent introduced to capital, relationships engineered. And Marcus Anderson, as global membership director, controlled the doors. In intelligence terms, these are cultivated environments. You don't wander into them, you're brought in because someone believes you serve a function. Which reframes the Sussex origin story entirely. We were told it was a blind date, a mutual friend, a coincidence. But if the dossier's theory holds, it wasn't romance, it was placement. A woman seasoned in transactional elite spaces was introduced to the most emotionally vulnerable man in the royal family,
despair, the one carrying grief, resentment, and a lifelong desire to be seen. If this is hitting you the way it's hitting me, pause for a second and drop a comment, even just a "this is wild." I read them all. Because if this is true, it explains something Harry can't escape now. The traits he admired weren't accidental. The intense listening, the mirroring, the flawless navigation of high-pressure rooms, those skills aren't innate, they're learned, perfected. Princess Anne reportedly tried to explain this to him, that Marcus Anderson was the bridge between paid influence and the monarchy, that bringing someone with deep transactional ties into the royal core was a breach. Harry saw a fairy tale, Anne saw a perimeter failure. And then came the proof.
Because rumors are easy to dismiss. Whispers can be waved away. But Anne reportedly pointed to something tangible, something physical. The Chopard earrings. £500,000, diamond chandeliers, officially described as a wedding gift. But gifts like that don't exist in diplomacy. The donor wasn't a family friend, it wasn't a producer, it was Mohammed bin Salman. Ask yourself the same question Anne allegedly asked Harry. Why would one of the most powerful men on earth send a personal gift of that magnitude to a former American cable actress he had never met? In Gulf elite culture, that doesn't happen. Gifts like that are acknowledgments, closures, thank yous. Intelligence analysts reportedly recognized the pattern immediately. A severance gift. When someone exits a network permanently, a final high-value gift is often sent, a golden handshake, a closing of accounts. Anne allegedly warned Harry that this was the return on investment she'd been talking about. And then Meghan wore them. At a state dinner in Fiji, weeks after Jamal Khashoggi's murder. Palace aides begged her not to. The optics were radioactive. But Anne saw something deeper. That wasn't defiance. That was allegiance. Borrowed, Meghan claimed. But to Anne, who had read the manifests and the Istanbul reports, they were the smoking gun. Proof that the network didn't vanish. It followed her into the palace. And this brings us to the confrontation that broke everything. Not a shouting match, a meeting. Quiet, controlled, likely at Gatcombe Park. Anne laid the dossier on the table. She didn't talk about race or class or optics. She talked about security risk, about strategic social placement, about being kept. She reportedly said something chilling. People don't keep you unless you're useful. Harry rejected it. He saw cruelty. He saw prejudice. He buried the report. He chose the narrative that made him the hero. And now, sitting in Montecito, with leaked images matching that old file perfectly, the realization is allegedly devastating. He wasn't saving her. He was the exit strategy. This is the moment of recognition, the Greek tragedy turn, when the hero realizes the truth too late. The silence from the Sussex camp right now is louder than any lawsuit. No statements, no denials, no counterattack. Because Harry knows what silence means. It means the math checks out. He burned the bridges to the people who tried to protect him, and now he has nowhere to go. So I'll leave this with you. Does Harry owe Princess Anne an apology? Type "Sorry, Anne" if you think he does. Type "Too late" if you think the damage is irreversible. If you appreciate this kind of deep, careful breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. The palace may not explain, but the truth has a way of surfacing anyway. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.